What's going on, guys? It's Jack with Jack Banks MMA, and here are my early betting ideas for Dern versus Yan. Alright, so we're going to start off with the main event, and then this week I'm going to do something that I started to do a little bit last week, but I'm going to do it for more fights this week, which is give you what my odds are for the fights. And we're going to start with the main event. So Mackenzie Dern is taking on Xiaonan Yan, and this is a very interesting matchup. Xiaonan Yan really struggled with the wrestling of Carla Esparza. And for that reason, I saw the actual line before I put down what my odds are. And I think that's a little bit baked into it. I don't think Mackenzie Dern has the same ability to get the takedown that Carla Esparza does. Esparza is a phenomenal wrestler. And Dern is a better submission artist, but not as good of a takedown threat. And I think that matters here. I think the line is a little bit too far in the Dern side. I have Dern as a minus 135 favorite here to Xiaonan around a plus 110, maybe plus 115. I think she does have a chance in this one to keep it on the feet. Dern has improved on the feet, but is nowhere near as good a striker as Xiaonan. However, the one difference between Dern and Esparza, is that Dern doesn't necessarily need to get it to the ground to implement her jiu-jitsu. Similar to a Brian Ortega, we saw that in her last fight against Tecia Torres, where she just needed to get Torres up against the fence and was able to grapple and put Torres in very dangerous positions, both on the fence and then on the ground. Dern is very dangerous. I do think she deserves to be the favorite. I just think it's a little bit too much of a favorite here. Now, moving on to the next fight on this card, moving from top down for me, which is going to be Brendan Allen versus Krzysztof Jotko. It's a very interesting fight, guys. It is right now right around a pick'em from the last time I checked. Now, what's interesting to me is my bias. Every time, so to give you guys a little insight into how I go about this, I have an idea of who I like, and then I'll watch the tape and then let that kind of dictate whether my original feelings were correct or not. And in this fight, with the way Brendan Allen has been trending, and on the opposite, the way that Jako has been fighting, I really felt like, okay, we might see a line where Allen is a favorite, and I'm going to look to play Jotko as an underdog. But we got kind of the opposite here, where the line is even. To give you guys full transparency here, that's not even a word. To be fully transparent here, there we go. I had Brendan Allen as a minus 150 favorite. I think a lot of people are really basing Jotko's grappling ability off his last fight against Meerschaert. And Meerschaert is a phenomenal grappler, a great submission artist, but Allen is a better wrestler, and I think that matters. Jotko really struggled with some of the transitions with Serkinov, and that was a very close fight. Allen is better on the feet than Serkinov, and I know Allen has not looked good his past few fights. He even against Sam Alvey, he got clipped on the feet. And on the feet, I think if Allen does not wrestle, which is sometimes, like last fight he did against Malkoun, which was good, but sometimes I feel like he gets away from what got him to the UFC, which is his grappling, his wrestling, and he wants to be a stand-up striker, a stand-up fighter, I should say, and I think that was part of the reason why I liked Jotko going into this fight. Jotko knows who he is as a fighter. Allen, I think, wants to be a technical striker, but he's really a grappler who needs to work, show his striking early, but then needs to work in his takedowns as the fight goes on. And he's gotten a bit away from that, and I'm hoping, based off his last fight, he's going to bring that back. The one bet that I really like here because I think I'm going to stay away from the sides on this fight. It's going to be the fight goes the distance. I'm curious what that's going to be capped at. I personally have it capped at a minus 300. I believe that's around like 75 to 77% likelihood. And I really like that. I don't see either guy getting a finish here, and that's going to be something I'm going to look to play, or like over 2.5, depending on odds there. Next up, the next fight that I have capped is something that I think some people are going to disagree with me pretty strongly, and I'm okay with that. So it's Cody Garbrandt versus Rani Yahya, and this was a fight that was supposed to happen a couple months ago, and then it got pushed back. I think Yahya was the reason why he had to pull out. This is a very intriguing fight, guys. Cody Garbrandt is looking to get back on track. He's facing a guy with no knockout power. And Cody Garbrandt obviously has had some issues with his chin. Moved down to flyweight most recently and got knocked out by Kai Kara-France. Even before that, he didn't look great in the Rob Font fight. He did get Rafael Assunção. He did knock him out, and that was a very impressive KO. But the trend has not been good. However, this is definitely a step down in competition for Cody Garbrandt. With that being said, though, I really don't agree with where the odds are at. Cody Garbrandt is somewhere around a minus 200 favorite. I have this fight as a pick'em. The reason why, and we will see if Cody Garbrandt has improved his cardio and specifically his grappling cardio, because Cody Garbrandt has always been a guy who moves really well on the feet. He's even in his 5-round fight against Dominic Cruz, he had great cardio throughout the entire fight. The one thing I noticed in the fight with Rob Font is Garbrandt went to implement a lot of his own grappling because he knew he was a little behind in the striking. And as the fight went on, not only did Garbrandt tire quicker, but Rob Font was able to get his own takedowns against Cody Garbrandt. And I'm worried. I know this is a 3-round fight versus a 5-round fight there, but I'm a bit worried for Garbrandt's cardio with Rani Yahya pushing a high grappling pace. I think if Garbrandt doesn't get him out of there early, I think Yahya can really tire him out as this fight goes on. It even kind of sounds crazy as I'm saying this out loud to me, but Yahya is persistent and he's going to keep hunting those takedowns, and if Garbrandt can't get him off of him early, he's going to have to keep defending, and he's going to have to maintain space and distance in this fight. And I think as the fight goes on, he's going to have a tougher time doing so. And I could see Yahya taking the 3rd round, and it's a question to me of, okay, if Garbrandt doesn't get him out of there early, can he maintain the cardio and win round 2? Because I think if this goes to the judges, it's going to be 29-28. It's a question of who gets it. And so I guess as I'm saying this, I'm kind of realizing maybe I should give Garbrandt a little bit more respect, maybe minus 130, but I do think minus 200 is a bit too high. The next fight that I have capped on this card is Raoni Barcelos, versus Trevin Jones. I actually think the bookmakers did a good job of capping this one. I had it minus 200 Barcelos, Jones at plus 170, and that's right about where it is. I think it's a fair line on both sides. Barcelos, he seems to be on the decline here, but Trevin Jones, he's got to hit him with one shot. And the other thing is that while Barcelos does seem to be on the decline, it seems to be that pace is the thing that tires him out. Trevin Jones does not seem to fight with a lot of volume. And so unless Trevin Jones is able to connect with his power shots, which he has shown he is very capable of doing so, I think Barcelos wins a decision, which is why I think that the line makes sense around Barcelos minus 200. Next fight that I have capped is Rozenstruik versus Daukaus. So, again, I kind of agree with where the line is at. Rozenstruik, I have Rozenstruik as a minus 175 favorite to Daukaus plus 150. I kind of wish Daukaus was kind of going for his sake a further step back in competition. I get why the fight was made. Daukaus, for whatever reason, had a step up in competition after the Derek Lewis fight. In my opinion, Blaze is a better fighter. I know Lewis beat him, but Blaze is a more complete fighter. And now, yes, this is a step back from the Blades fight, but I think Rozenstruik right now is on a similar level to Derek Lewis. He doesn't quite have the same size as Derek Lewis, which I think will benefit Daukaus in this matchup, but he certainly has the same power. And I'm concerned for Daukaus in that aspect. I have this fight capped to not go the distance at minus 400. So that is probably going to be something I will look to play if it's within reason. I don't see this one lasting, making it to the judges' scorecards. Next up, Aleksei Oleinik versus Ilir Latifi. I have Latifi as a minus 200 favorite. I think he gets this done. It's going to be something I will look to parlay. It was something I had tried to play when this matchup was originally set to take place a few months back. And in terms of props, I'm looking at the overs, 1.5, 2.5. Maybe fight goes to decision. I just think I don't see a finish happening. I think Latifi is too strong and too knowledgeable on the ground to get submitted by Oleinik. And I don't think Oleinik can beat him on the feet. And I don't think Latifi's all that likely to get a finish here either. So I think Latifi wins this by decision. That could be another prop that you might look to play. But that's more or less where I'm looking. This fight I do think is pretty playable. But we'll have to see as we get closer to the actual fight, where the odds come out for the props. Next fight, for me at least, is Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti. I have Costa at a minus 150 favorite to Canetti's plus 120. I don't know why Randy Costa is a minus 300 favorite. I like him. He's a lot of fun to watch. But he always gasses after one round. It doesn't seem to matter, if he switches camps or whatever extra work he's done. The difference, I will say, the benefit for in Costa's defense here is that there's not going to be grappling in this fight. And that seems to be what tires out Costa. So I understand that. But at the same time, what has Costa done to deserve to be a minus 300 favorite in his UFC career? He's had some good moments, for sure. He had good moments against Brendan Davis, good moments against Adrian Yanez. But both of those were losses in the second round. So with that being said, the prop I like is this fight's not going the distance, minus 350. If it does, I would be surprised. It'd be one of those things that kind of makes sense MMA-wise. One of those things that you would never predict would happen, that would happen. But, man, I really don't think this fight is going the distance. The last bet I want to give you guys in terms of a fight that I have capped was recently added just today. Sodiq Yusuf versus Don Sheamus. I have Yusuf as a minus 400 favorite. We'll see what the odds are. I think they're going to come in higher than that. Sheamus has some skill. He's a shorter fighter. He actually has a really good ability of getting one butterfly in and sweeping off of his back. He's shown that in a couple of his recent fights. And the announcers I was listening, they were talking about Sheamus not wanting to bring it to the mat, but all three fights that I saw of Sheamus, he was successful on the mat with his ground and pound. He's got a good ability to control his opponent on the mat. Sodiq Yusuf, though, is on another level. He's better. He kind of reminds me of like a better version of Sheamus in a lot of ways. He's bigger. Sheamus has good power on the feet. Yusuf may have better power. He's better defensively than Sheamus, I would say. The only question to me, because Sheamus has shown to be pretty tough, is whether this fight will go the distance or not. And this one's a little tricky to me. I'm curious if the line is high, right? If the fight to not go the distance, does not go the distance, excuse me, is around minus 400. I think I will look to play it to go to decision. I just think Sodiq Yusuf hasn't shown to be a great finisher at the UFC level. I know Sheamus is stepping in at short notice here, but he seems to be very tough. He's done that a few times. I know the competition is not nearly the same as Sodiq Yusuf, but I think Sheamus could tough it out until the end. I have fight does not go to decision at minus 200, so that's why I'm thinking there might be some value there. But let me know what you guys think of my odds for these fights. What bets you're looking for UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Yan. I'll see you guys next week.